Hey everybody, today we're going to be making quick pickles. Now this is more of a technique video, alright? You can use whatever kind of vegetables and spices you want, but it's a really quick and easy way just to make some really great toppings for tacos, salads, or whatever. Alright, let's get started. So the basic ingredients you're going to use, you're going to start with some kind of vinegar, you're going to use water, you're going to use salt and sugar, and you're going to use whatever kind of pickling spices you want to add to that. Now today we're going to be pickling cucumbers, beets, and red onion, but I really encourage you to play around with different vegetables, different spices, and see what you can come up with. So we're going to start with our red onion. First you're just going to take off the top and the root, and then slice it in half. Now I kind of tried to show you here, I should have cut it the other way, because you can see there's two cores. We want to end up with strips, not rings, so I should have sliced through that, but it's not going to make a big difference. So after that, you're just going to peel off the outside layer. And don't worry too much about wasting stuff here, because, hey, we're responsible adults, so we're going to make sure that we compost all our scraps. So this is the shape that we want to end up with. We're cutting it this way because if you see those little ridges, that's going to give us a really nice texture and look. So we're going to use our claw grip, keeping your thumb behind those three fingers, and just slice it thinly. And once you get about halfway through, or towards the end here, you're just going to want to turn it around. And that means that you're not going to be cutting downhill, so to speak, which means that the knife could slide into your fingers, and you're going to be bringing together those two straight edges created by the knife, so it's just easier to cut. So after you get your onions all cut up, you're going to want to transfer them straight into the jar. And there's no pretty way to do this, so just try to cram them in there as best you can. And congratulations, you're now the proud owner of a jar of onions. Alright, we're going to set that aside for a bit and get started on the brine. Now for this one, we're going to be using apple cider vinegar and white vinegar. You're going to want to use a ratio of about 1 to 3. And the reason that we're using two different kinds of vinegar here is because white vinegar is good for adding acidity without too much flavor. If we were to use all apple cider vinegar, it would just straight up taste like apple cider. You're also going to want to arbitrarily transfer it into a measuring glass, show it off to the camera, and pour it right back for no apparent reason. Alright, next thing we're going to add is the sugar. So I'm going to add about 2 teaspoons, but if you want it sweeter, add a bit more. If you don't like the sweetness, don't add so much. After that, we're going to hit it with some salt. I'm putting in about a teaspoon here, but same thing, adjust it to your taste. Alright, then we're going to add our first pickling spice, which is some coriander seeds. Next up, we're going to add some whole cloves. These things smell like Christmas and they're incredibly strong, so we're only going to put about 3 or 4 in. After that, just crack in some black pepper, and then we're going to take it over to the stove. So normally, you don't need to get it up to a boil. You just need to heat it enough so that the salt and the sugar dissolve fully. But we actually want to cook our onions a little bit, so I'm going to boil it. So after you quickly change your lighting, just make sure that all the salt and sugar is dissolved. And we're going to go ahead and add it straight to the jar with our onions. Now I actually made too much brine here. Alright, we're going to top it off with water, but I should have used more water here because mine came out really strong. So you want to go for ideally like a ratio of half and half brine to water. Alright, then you can just top it off and give it a little shake to make sure it's all nicely mixed up. And then you're going to leave the cap on loosely because we want those onions to kind of steam and cook a bit more. So let's move on to our beets. I'm just putting down another cutting board here because every chef's nightmare is cleaning beets off of a bamboo cutting board. So just give it the old top and tail. And then you're going to want to peel it. Now, beets are a pretty tough vegetable, so we're going to want to cut them pretty thin to make some nice pickles. So I'm using this mandolin. It's got a julienne setting that's going to give you some really nice little matchsticks. And make sure you always use the guard. I'm just testing it here. Alright, there you can see kind of what we're going for. But don't worry, if you don't have a mandolin, you can just slice them thinly, or you can use a cheese grater or something. And here you can see I'm a responsible human using the guard. Alright, and don't worry if you've got any leftover bits like I do there. I used to have an old chef who said that a thumb or a finger is so much more important than 10 cents worth of vegetable. But also, we're going to use those later. And when you're putting these in a jar, make sure you choose one that's big enough. So, same deal here, you can set those aside and we'll get started on the brine. And for this one I'm going to use some red wine vinegar, and of course white vinegar, because again, we don't want it to be too strong. And the ratio I'm going with here is about half and half. Alright, next we're going to add a tiny pinch of cayenne. Some coriander, of course. Now, I didn't show it, but we're also going to put in some salt and some sugar, some black pepper. And we're going to crush up some garlic here and add that. Now, a quick tip here. When you're crushing up garlic, make sure you're always using the heel of your hand like this, alright? You should never use a fist like this, because then the knife can slip and you'll end up with cuts along the side of your hand and no idea how they got there. So we can just throw that crushed garlic right in there. Alright, now once you've got it up to a boil, we're just going to add that straight to the beets. And again, we're just going to top that up with some water. Alright, then same deal, just top it off, give it a quick shake to mix everything up, and then loosen up the cap and set it aside so that the beets kind of soften. And we're just going to get ready for our final pickles here, which is going to be cucumber. I'm just cutting this in half to make it more manageable. But you're going to want to cut it in half lengthwise, and then we're going to just take a spoon and scoop out all the seeds. Alright, so once you got that done, we're going to start cutting these up. And we're just going to aim for something that's like a 1/4 inch thick. Alright, I want mine to have a little bit of a crunch still, but you can always go thinner if you want. So just go ahead and chop up all your cucumbers. And I'm going to put them in 2 separate jars here, because I want to try something different. So we're actually going to take some of the leftover beet that we had, and we're going to add a bit to one of the jars, and that's going to give the pickles a really nice deep purple color. Alright, so set those aside, let's get the brine going. Now at this point you should be pretty familiar with how we're going to do it here. I'm just going to use rice vinegar for this one. And again, we're going with about half and half here. Now we're going to add some chili flakes, some coriander seeds, and of course, sugar, salt. And finally we're going to add some black pepper, and then we're going to take it over to the stove. So you just want to make sure that everything is all nice and dissolved. And then we're just going to pour it straight into the jars. Now you can see here I definitely had way too much brine. I only had a little room at the top left for some water. Ideally, the ratio is half and half again, but it's not a big deal because after I found out that they were too strong, I just dumped out a bit of the brine and replaced it with water. Everything worked out okay. And the reason that that's okay to do is because these are just quick pickles, right? So once they're ready, we're going to pop them in the fridge, and they'll be good for a month or two. But these are definitely not the kind of pickles that like you find at your grandma's house that have been kicking around since World War II. So just top them off, give them a shake. And all of these pickles will be ready to eat in about half an hour, but I like to let them go a little bit longer, alright? That's just going to make the texture improve, and for our cucumbers here, it's going to give them more time to absorb that nice color from the beets. So these pictures were actually taken about a day or two later. And there you have it. It's just a really quick and easy way to make some pickles. Really hope you guys try this out, experiment with different vegetables and spices. You know, you can make a really nice banh mi slaw with carrots and red onions. So thanks for watching, guys. If you like the videos, make sure you subscribe so that you're updated when I got new stuff coming out. And if you've got any recipe requests, you can throw those down in the comments. I'll take a look at them, see if we can't figure out a way to make it a little quicker and easier for you.